Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Let's talk about why your blood labs are leaving out a crucial piece of the healing equation. And I want to put a disclaimer here to say that I'm not saying that blood labs are bad and that you should never do blood labs. And I do blood labs with my clients, so they have their place. But I want to tell you where blood labs are falling short in terms of giving you a good picture of what's going on in your body and to really know what you're looking at when you want to create more balance, or you're feeling things are going wrong in the body. You go to your doctor, you do the blood labs, and they tell you, oh, everything looks fine. That's the most common thing in my world. So I want to start with that piece. There's multiple facets to this that I want to mention. So first, let me start with this. When you go to conventional medicine doctor and you do your blood labs, they are measuring it by conventional ranges. And there are conventional ranges and there are functional ranges, and they're very, very different. When you're looking at conventional ranges, the way they set these ranges are basically like the average of, adequately functional people. And so when they're looking at the labs and your doctor's like, oh yeah, everything looks fine in the labs, that what the labs are basically saying is, well, you're not dead, like you're still alive, right? So that's basically what it's saying. This is not looking at great health. This is not looking at optimal health. This isn't looking at completely functional health. It's like, okay, it looks fine, which is why so many people go to the doctor. Women especially, this is like almost every single woman that I have ever worked with, I would say 99% have been in this situation where they've gone to their doctor, they've done the blood labs, they've done the blood work, and their doctor's like, oh, everything looks fine in your labs, but they don't feel fine. There's clearly stuff going on in the body. They are feeling things going on in their body. They know something is off, but the doctor's saying everything looks fine. They're attributing it to their age or their hormones. Those are probably the biggest two. Oh, you're perimenopausal. You just get used to it. Oh, you're menopausal. You'll just get used to it. Oh, you just like, there's always a reason. It has to do with your age or your hormones. And that's the answer that they give you. And so when we're looking at the difference between conventional lab ranges and functional lab ranges, when we look at functional, which is how the labs that I run, we're looking at the functional range. We're looking at optimal health, right? We're looking at optimal health, which means how can we improve so everything is functioning optimally? Not just like, okay, well, I'm functioning, I'm alive, I'm not dead. Like, how do we get to optimal? So how the only blood lab I really ever run is a blood chemistry lab. And I only do that with very specific people. And it's usually when there's still holes and things, we haven't quite been able to connect all the dots. And I really want to dig into why we haven't been able to connect the dots. Then we'll look at a blood chemistry lab. But when we're looking at the blood chemistry lab, the crazy part of this is whenever I do blood chemistry is, I get the lab results, and typically I get the lab results and there may be a couple things that are like out of range based on the ranges they give, because the blood lab results are coming back in kind of that conventional range. But then when I'm comparing it to the functional range, it's like, oh, there's actually a ton of things that are out of whack here. I did one a few weeks ago for one of my clients that's having some strange things happening with her thyroid and her adrenals and stuff. And, similar situation. She's been to the doctor. The doctor's like, oh, the labs look fine. Minus her thyroid. I mean, she's for sure has some thyroid things going on. But we do the blood chemistry lab. Sure enough, there's a lot of things going on. It looks like, oh, your body's not digesting protein. Oh, your body clearly has some issues with mitochondrial function. Oh, here's some deficiencies. Oh, there's so many things that if looking at conventional ranges, we would have never picked up. We would have never known that these things were out of balance in the body. So that's the first qualm that I have with blood labs, is just looking at conventional ranges versus the functional range. The other thing with the blood lab, any blood lab is measuring just a blip in time. It's like what's going on right now in the body, which can be helpful in some situations. Again, I'm not saying to never do blood lab. That's not what I'm saying. And it can be helpful in certain situations, especially when we're looking at things like thyroid, your blood sugar, like those kind of things. Like we need to know what's happening right now in the moment. But the issue is when we're looking at overall functionality in the body, we don't want to look at what's going on right now because I could do the same blood lab tomorrow at the same time and it could look different based on what I ate, my stress level, my exercise, there's my hormones. There's so many things that could shift and change what that blood lab looks like. So one of the many reasons that I like doing functional labs is it's going to give us a better look at what's going on chronically in the body, which is why I talk about hair tissue and mineral analysis all the time, but I'm going to mention it because it really is, that's why I like it, hair tissue mineral analysis. So we're looking at the hair tissue and mineral analysis. You're literally sending in some of your hair as a tissue. And so we're able to look at what's going on chronically in the body. So if you compare that to doing a blood lab at the doctor, if you're measuring your minerals, a lot of people go and get their minerals checked, vitamins and minerals checked at the doctor, right? You're doing a blood lab. Again, what we're looking at is what's going on right now in your body, this blip in time, this second, this is what's happening with your minerals, your vitamins, whatever. Doesn't give you a whole lot of really great data to go off of. Whereas if we were looking at an HTMA is looking at chronically what's going on in the body over the past several months and the buildup that it's taken to get there, we can get a better idea of what's going chronically in the body, and it's a more accurate look of what's going on at a cellular level. The issue we're looking at minerals, and the reason I hone in on minerals, I think I talked about this in the last lab that I did. The reason I hone in on minerals is, you probably heard me say this a dozen times, but the minerals are the spark plugs in the body. And I don't know, we might have learned that in middle school biology, I'm not sure. But the fact is that they are the reason, the catalyst for every reaction in the body. We have to have minerals for your enzymes, your hormones, your digestion, literally everything in the body. We have to have adequate mineral levels. And so when those are out of balance, it's just like this cascade effect, snowball effect, everything it's from the ground up is out of balance. So I like to start with this, starting with the hair tissue mineral analysis, to start looking at a cellular level, mineral level. This is what's happening to cause all these other things to go out of balance, out of whack. So when we're looking at the HTMA, looking at what's going on chronically in the body, we get an indication what's going on at a cellular level, meaning minerals, a lot of minerals are intracellular, which means they are supposed to be in your cells. And so when we're measuring the blood, it's really not an accurate look at several minerals to see what's going on because they shouldn't be in your blood. They should be in your cells, right? So it can also kind of skew the reality of what's going on in the body too. Some minerals might show elevated in a blood lab, but really that means it's deficient because it's supposed to be in your cells. It's not supposed to be in your blood, right? So when we want a better, more accurate look at what's going on in the body at a cellular level, what's going on chronically in the body, this is why I love the HTMA so much. And again, starting with that, like the building blocks, the foundation of everything that happens that's going on in your body is the HTMA. Like that's where it's your minerals. We measure it with HTMA. And that's what we're looking at. We want to start there at the base level. Because I mean, honestly, can you create, balance and healing opportunities in the body without looking at minerals and, just looking at hormones and just looking at gut? I mean, sure, it's possible. It's totally possible, but you're definitely missing out a crucial piece of the puzzle. And I will say that a lot of my clients have done a lot of the other things before coming to work with me. And when we honed in on this mineral piece, this is the thing that kind of shifted things, getting on that, on that foundational level. So the other thing is that I want to tell you about the blood labs is just like when, with traditionally looking at conventional medicine, most, and I want to say most, I don't want to make a blanket statement. I don't want to make like everybody, this is everybody, but most, for the most part, many physicians, practitioners they're looking at, they'll look at your medical history, maybe they'll do the blood labs, they'll look at the labs, and then they're going to give you some sort of diagnosis or not, right? And then that's kind of it. There are not as many, and I will say there probably are more today. There are more progressive Western medical practitioners now that are, but there's not a whole lot of conversations going on about your lifestyle, your stress, your environment at home, your environment at work, your emotional health, your mental health, right? Your emotional state. There's not a whole lot of conversations about that. And so, yes, I would say when I'm talking about what your blood labs are leaving out of the equation, that's the other piece. Like, obviously, it's not taking into account any of that. And a lot of conventional methods are not taking into account any of that. And that is 100% going to affect everything that's going on in your body. And this is another reason why I love tying in the minerals and starting with the minerals. And I talked about this in the last live that I did, but your minerals, again, remember your minerals are what's going on at a cellular level. And when we're looking at the body energetically, you have these energy centers in the body that are responsible for different emotions, right? There's different emotions attached to different centers in the body. And all of these are also attached to specific glands in the body. All these specific glands, what do they require to function? Minerals, right? Again, it starts at a cellular level. So we require minerals to function, that these energy centers, these glands associated with these energy centers. So do you see there's all these layers that are connected, and it all goes down to this energetic piece and this cellular piece, like what's going on in the physical piece, the cellular level, and then what's going on emotionally, energetically to cause that to happen. And so the pieces, the big pieces, the point I want to get across on this topic. The big piece is that your blood labs are leaving out, and the reason why you can go to the doctor and get the blood labs done and they say everything looks fine, or they, give you specific things that are going wrong in the body, but there's no, first of all, there's a lot of times no explanation. So you're not really understanding, like, why are those things out of balance? Like, why are those things out of whack? And then two, there's, because our Western medical system is based on diagnosis, medications, and surgeries, that's the options they give you, right? For the most part. Yes, there are some that don't. I don't want to leave out the people who are giving alternative methods. But for the most part, that like traditionally, we're looking traditionally at the Western medical model. That's just how it is. There's no hate, no shade, no shame. I'm just saying that that's how they're trained. That's how the Western medical model works. And so when you're looking at it and you're thinking like, okay, well, you're telling me everything looks fine. You're telling me nothing's wrong based on looking at the labs, but I don't feel okay, right? Why don't I feel okay? What pieces are missing? We're missing what's going on at a cellular level. We're missing what's going on chronically in the body. We're missing those foundational pieces and what's going on with those. And we're missing the piece of that energetic, emotional body that we're leaving out. How these minerals got out of balance in the first place, how these physical pieces in the body got out of balance in the first place. I will say it once, I will say it a million times before I die. There is an emotional, energetic root cause to everything that's happening physically on the body. There's something that has happened energetically in the body where an emotion, emotions are energy in motion, has gotten stuck, stored, snagged in the body, kind of hindering or blocking or restricting the flow of energy in the body. Thus, it's going to cause this stagnation, imbalance on the physical body. If we don't have a free flow, it's a tongue twister today, free flow of energy in the body, then yes, of course, your physical body is going to feel the effects of that. When our energy isn't flowing freely, our physical body cannot function optimally. It cannot function effectively and efficiently, right? So we have to get to the true root cause, which is not going to show up in a blood lab. It's just not. Yes, it can be helpful to look at certain functions in the body, but if you really want to create balance in the body, you really want to find optimal health. That's the other thing. And I want to hone in on that piece too, because I think sometimes people think like, in order to go the functional medical route or whatever, or go more functional route or holistic or alternative, whatever word you want to put there has to be like, 5,000 things going on wrong in the body. And it's possible. I've worked with plenty of people where there are a gazillion things going on wrong in the body, but it doesn't have to be the case. I work with a lot of women who don't necessarily have this laundry list of things going wrong in their body. And, overall they feel pretty good, but they know that there's good and then there's optimal, and they want to learn what does optimal look like, and they want to know like what state am I at right now. Like I just want to know the state of my health right now in a more functional way to see how can I get to optimal. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would say props to the women who are doing that and not waiting for things to go wrong, because that's the other thing. We wait for things to go wrong, and I don't want to say it's too late because it's never too late. So I'm not going to say that we wait for things to go wrong. It's going to be that much harder for you to find the balance and that free flow of energy that I'm talking about if you're waiting for things to go wrong. So why not get a good picture of what's going on when you don't feel like crap and when you don't feel like your body's falling apart, and learn what's going on right now so that you can see and get a picture. Because sometimes too, you don't know what you don't know. And our bodies are so good at adapting that you might feel like, oh, I actually feel fine. I don't feel bad at all. But your body has adapted to the imbalances that are happening in the body feel normal to you, and you don't realize that there are things out of whack. And I know when I did the labs myself, when I was going through my FDN training, I felt like that was a huge piece of mine when I did it. I did the labs and I felt like overall, like, I do all the things. I eat healthy. I work out all the time. All the things. And I get my labs back and I'm like, holy moly, my adrenals are hanging on for dear life. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense why, I was getting sick all the time and I'd been injured however many times in the, however many years before. Like there was all the things in my head started adding up where it's like I was functioning. I was a functioning human, functional human, but there were things going on in the body that I had just kind of shoved aside or was like, again, I can still function in life and I'm functioning pretty good, what I thought. And so I didn't think about it, right? You just didn't think about it. And so I find so many times when we're able to look at this through a more proactive lens rather than being reactive, then we can look at things like, okay, well, let me do the HTMA just to see where I am, see what's out of balance. And maybe I can get, mineral protocol to bounce things out so that I can go to that optimal place that I'm looking for. Like just doing something simple like that to get a more comprehensive, holistic, chronic look at what's going on in the body is going to give you so much more information than just going to get your annual blood lab and have your doctor be like, oh, everything looks fine, right? So the point is, we can't rely on a blood lab to tell us everything that's going on in the body. We can't rely on a blood lab to tell us what needs to be fixed. Because even the blood labs that I use, like, yeah, I might use a blood chemistry lab, like I mentioned, but it's never going to be the only lab that I look at. And I'm not just looking at the labs. This is a piece where the conventional system falls short, is that we're not looking at the human, we're looking at the lab. Yes, the lab data is important and it can be helpful and it can be crucial to filling in the dots and looking at what's going on in the physical body. But if you're not comparing that to the human that's in front of you, humans are not labs. Like we have to look at the human, their medical history, their emotional and trauma history, their environment, like their lifestyle, all of these things, their detox load. There's so many aspects of a human sitting in front of you besides just what we're looking at the lab. And that's the big piece that's missing. So that's the piece that I hone in on with my clients is let's look at these deeper pieces and let's see why these things on your blood lab maybe either be off or you feel like they're off, might be off, right? Let's see what's happening energetically, emotionally in the body to see why this is happening. Let's look at some labs that might give us a more, in-depth look at what's going on in the body, like the HTMA, like, a GI map, which I also love, like the foundational labs that I use for my clients, like those are going to give us a more in-depth look and it's going to help connect the dots in a better way. But I think the most crucial piece, along with getting a good look at, the specific lab I'm talking about, the HTMA, the more crucial piece is looking at that energetic, emotional piece and putting the pieces together there, peeling back the layers on that, on how, where, when these emotions, this energy, and if it feels weird talking about emotions getting stuck, then just energy, like whatever word you want to use. The fact is, emotions are energy in motion. And when we don't allow those to move freely through the body and to emote, they do get stuck, they get stored, they get stagnant, they're there, they're stuck, they're stored as chemicals in the body. We have to allow that process to continue, that process to complete itself so we can feel that full emotion that started and maybe got stuck. And that's what trauma is, right? When we talk about trauma, going on a tangent here, but we'll go with it because it applies. We talk about trauma, that we haven't allowed that when trauma gets stuck in the body, whether that's big T, little t, it doesn't matter. When the trauma gets stuck in the body, it's because we've stopped that emotion from continuing that cycle to allow itself to fully express, right? So we've stopped that emotional process short of completing itself and it gets stuck and stored in the body. So these are the pieces that we have to untangle when we really want to create balance and healing in the body. And so my message to you with this is, not to tell you never go do a blood lab again with your doctor. I'm not saying that at all, or to never do a blood lab ever again, period. I'm not saying that, but to know that there are limitations and shortcomings. That's the word I want to use. Shortcomings and limitations to a blood lab. And that it's not going to tell you the whole story. And just talking about labs in general, it's the same thing. Again, yes, I like using functional labs with my clients and I like to give them those concrete answers. A lot of times too, when you get the functional labs done and you see the things show up, it's like the validation you've been looking for. So you don't feel like a crazy person, or you don't feel like questioning your sanity and questioning your intuition when you feel like something's off, but all the doctors have been like, oh no, everything's fine, right? So a lot of times just getting the answers with the labs is the validation to be like, okay, I'm not crazy. There is something off in the body, there's something wrong. But then we can go into those deeper layers, look into the energetic, the emotional pieces to see why this is showing up. So the takeaway for you is, don't rely just on the blood labs to give you the answers that you're looking for. And I will say this too, my parting words. If you feel like something is off in the body, then it is. So if you feel like something is off in the body, you've gone to the doctors and you've gone to the doctors and you've done the blood labs and they told you everything is fine, everything is normal, but you still feel like something is off, then it is. Your body knows when something is off. And if your body is telling you that something is off, then it is. So we cannot rely on the blood labs to give us the answers. And I find so many women I work with have gone, from practitioner, doctor to doctor, provider, whatever, looking like somebody give me a different answer. They're all running the same labs. They're all running the blood labs and they're waiting for this answer. The blood labs are going to give you the answers. We have to look deeper. We have to dive deeper into the body to find the real root cause of the imbalances. So I would love to hear your thoughts and your takeaways on this. Maybe perhaps your experiences with, if what I'm saying resonates, like you've had this experience with the blood labs, like, oh yeah, that's totally happened to me before. I'd love to hear your experience. And if you want more information on taking an alternative approach and looking at things in a different way, then message me. I have options for you to just do the HTMA. I have an HTMA test package where we could do the HTMA and get a session, get a protocol just based on the lab. I have my quantum reset that combines looking at labs like the HTMA, combining it with the energetic emotional work with the quantum healing sessions that I do. So it's all of this is to look at things through a different eye, take an alternative approach, and just working at things from a different angle. So if you have questions on that, feel free to shoot me a DM, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.